Hey guys, this is the Mind of Lilith, and thank you for joining me today. I'm going to be taking a deeper look into the most recent episode of Love and Marriage Huntsville, which I believe is season 4, episode 6. I'm going to be talking about the dynamic between Tisha, Miss Wanda, Kiki, and Melody. I'm not going to be doing a full episode recap as there are plenty of other content creators who do a great job of this. Instead, I'm going to be focusing on specific segments of the episode that I believe could be used as teachable moments for myself and the audience. First of all, I wanted to give a shout out to you all for sharing my content on social media and with Melody. I received several emails stating that Melody gave me a shout out on her platform. I appreciate all of the support that I've received on this platform thus far, and I hope that I can continue to provide more insight into how we can navigate through toxic situations, whether it's with our partners and relationships, whether it's with our friends or family, or even ourselves. So again, shout out to you all for sharing my content. I thank you all for being so supportive of me. And I also thank Melody for being so transparent on the show, to the extent that there's many people like myself who have the opportunity to share their knowledge with others based off of what she's experienced in her real life. So I'm going to start off by talking about the scene between Kiki and Miss Wanda. The first thing I noticed was the fact that Kiki seemed to be uncomfortable about Miss Wanda coming over. She acted as if she knew Miss Wanda would judge her for something, whether it was for the plastic cups that she was giving her, or the fact that her boxes were unpacked. She acted as if she didn't feel like Miss Wanda would understand this, and Miss Wanda would take this information and gossip about it around town. That was a telltale sign for me as far as the dynamic between Kiki and Miss Wanda. So during the course of the conversation, Kiki starts to complain to Miss Wanda about the fact that the rift that Tisha and Kiki are experiencing is because of the dynamic between Miss Wanda and her brother, who is Kiki's father. So apparently Kiki grew up with more money, and it seems like the uncle looked down on Miss Wanda because she didn't have as many resources, and Miss Wanda internalized that and basically raised Tisha to be in competition with her own cousins. The elder generation failed that family. And this happens a lot. And I talked about the difference between old bitter women or old bitter people and matriarchs or elders. Miss Wanda, in my opinion, reminds me of an old bitter woman who is too emotionally and psychologically immature to provide sound guidance to the youth or the younger generations, right? Even if it's her own niece. She's too embittered by her own life experiences to be objective and peaceful when it comes to situations that, for example, Tisha's going through with Melody. So instead of Miss Wanda coming to Melody and Tisha as an elder to broker their friendship, to help mend their friendship, Miss Wanda would say something like, I don't want my grandchildren around Melody's kids because Melody's kids, they may be jealous of Tisha's kids' beautiful hair. Remember in season 2, Miss Wanda said something about Melody's kids' hair to the effect that the Holts children were not trustworthy because they would be jealous enough to cut little girl's hair. And that is not the way that Martell and Melody raised those kids. But because Miss Wanda is a bitter old woman, what she will do is foster chaos, confusion, and drama among the people in her environment because she's so bitter and emotionally and psychologically stunted. The fact that she would try to accuse little girls of being jealous enough to cut their friend's hair proves my point that Miss Wanda is bitter, jealous, immature, and a toxic person to be around. So now Kiki and Tisha have this sibling or cousin rivalry, right? This blood rivalry where Tisha feels like she has to prove her worth to the world in a sense because she grew up poor and her mother probably told her that, yeah, you're going to have to do this on your own. Nobody has your back. It's you and me against the world. And as a result, Tisha has grown up to be insecure of other women like Melody. A couple of weeks ago, I talked about the reason why I believe that Kiki was still holding on to the fact that Tisha talked about her to Martell and Melody a couple of years ago. Apparently Tisha told some private information about Keke to Martell and Melody. And I mentioned that Keke wasn't necessarily upset about the information itself. She can get past that. She seemed more upset about Tisha's motivations for telling Martell and Melody her business. I felt like Tisha told Melody and Martell Keke's business to put herself on a pedestal above her cousin. The fact that Tisha tried to ingratiate herself with the Holts by putting herself on a pedestal above Keke, that was what hurt Keke the most, because it was playing out the same dynamic that she had grown up with Tisha, this competition and pettiness between them to say, okay, well, even though you grew up on the better side of the tracks with more money, I have more money than you now. I have a better husband than you. I have a better marriage than you. I'm friends with the Holts. That type of petty competitiveness is very corrosive to relationships, sibling relationships, or even friendships. And I believe that Tisha had the same attitude towards Melody while she was getting her divorce. If you guys remember that scene in season 2 when Martell confronted Miss Wanda about talking shit about his kids, and Tisha said, Melody's not innocent, right? Because Miss Wanda went to defend Melody. And Tisha said Melody's not innocent because Martell was telling a bunch of lies to Tisha. Tisha was eating up all of those lies because she wanted to believe something negative about Melody because she's always been in competition with her. In part 2, I'm going to discuss the real reason why Melody is still so upset with Tisha for accusing her of trying to destroy her marriage. But anyway, when it comes to Keke, Tisha, and Miss Wanda came at Keke as if she was some girl on the street, not her niece. She didn't come to her as an elder, as someone who's supposed to be a support system. Even though she was upset about what happened with Tisha and she wanted to defend her daughter is not a child. Tisha is in her 40s, but Miss Wanda likes to fight. Miss Wanda likes drama. Miss Wanda likes competition. Miss Wanda likes war and chaos. So she will gladly enter into conflicts with younger people, not to provide guidance and support, but to fan the flames and fuel the fire. Even though she's responsible for this dynamic between Tisha and Keke. Instead of her taking responsibility for that, she comes and attacks Keke for playing the roles that their parents made for them, right? Miss Wanda and her brother wanted their children to compete against each other. They didn't care about how that was affecting the psychological and emotional health of the kids. They didn't care about how that would affect their relationship as cousins. All they cared about was one-upping each other as siblings. A sibling rivalry that is now affecting the younger generation. So now there's a rift in the family. And Miss Wanda's not taking responsibility for that. All she's going to do is attack Keke, just like she attacks Melody, just like she attacks Kimmy, right? Even though Kimmy's her age for whatever reason. But Miss Wanda does not try to bring peace to any situation that she's in. So of course Tisha is going to enjoy drama and mess and gossip and, salacious cheating rumors, right? She's going to enjoy that. She's going to eat it up because in her mind, she's competing with the people who rejected her for being on the other side of the tracks. She's competing with the Melody Holts of the world because Melody is a symbolic representation of the socioeconomic class that Tisha felt like she wasn't a part of. She's a representation of the rejection of her uncle's side of the family. And this brings me to my second point. Apparently, Melody is a status symbol in Huntsville. And this explains why so many people want to be her friend or want to be in her life or part of her circle. She is a celebrity. So if she's associated with you or you're associating with her, this automatically elevates your status in that community. And this is one of the reasons why I believe Martell had a hard time really letting her go. He wasn't just letting go of Melody Holt, the wife, or the mother of his children. He was letting go of the status that she brought him in that community. So the fact that Tisha would betray Keke by telling Martell and Melody Keke's business, it means that Tisha wanted to be a part of that social status that Melody represents. Tisha was willing to throw her cousin under the bus because she was always in competition with her anyway. And she was willing to do this to, again, ingratiate herself with the Holts, to say, I'm a part of your class. I'm not a part of that class, or whatever she represents. So whatever issues that Kiki's having, this is now my opportunity to put myself on a pedestal above my cousin, the way that she was put on a pedestal above me as a child. Tisha is actually a lot more calculated than people give her credit for. Everybody talks about, Melody being a backstabber, or she's calculated, she's a mean girl. Tisha is a social climber. And in my opinion, Tisha is somebody who will associate herself with popular people. She will use them for their resources, whether it's networking opportunities or financial opportunities, and then she will use the power that she has amassed as a result of their help to turn around and look down on them, the way that people in the past may have looked down on her for being from the other side of the tracks. I'm going to say this again. Tisha is actually very sneaky and calculated. She always was jealous of Melody, and I said this before. She was jealous of Melody, but she knew that she needed Melody to get to where she is today. So Tisha's going to play coy and innocent when it comes to her friendship with Melody. But many of us picked up from season 1 that Tisha was secretly jealous of Melody. And this is why I believe Melody and Martell was so triggered when Marsau and Tisha was talking about them and laughing about the issues in their marriage. They were very triggered about that, not because of, the fact that it was true, but these are the people that we helped. And now the people that we've helped are making jokes about something that's happening in our marriage that they actually caused. Marsau is partially responsible for the Holts divorce. So I want you to imagine helping out a couple, right, out of a financial bind. And you're offering your support, your resources, your networking circle, right? And then you have issues in your marriage because of this couple. Because Marsau was a cheater, he was helping Martell to cheat too. So because of the couple that you've helped to become more prominent in the community, your marriage is in the dumps. And this couple is making fun of your marriage behind your back. And they're partially responsible for the downfall of your relationship. I'm going to talk about that more in part 2. Because this would explain why Melody is still so upset with Tisha for accusing her of trying to sabotage her relationship. Was Tisha projecting when she said that? It always bothered me that Martell and Melody helped Marsau and Tisha, and in return, Marsau and Tisha stabbed Melody in the back. And Marsau actually, again, encouraged Martell to cheat on his wife. I think he did. I think that Marsau encouraged Martell to cheat. Or he made it easier to do. I'm not saying that Martell doesn't have a mind of his own. I'm not saying that at all. But Marsau is not a good influence on Martell. So imagine helping a couple to become more successful. And this couple is partially responsible for the downfall of your marriage. That always bothered me since season 1. So anyway, back to Keke and Miss Wanda and Tisha. I think it's interesting that neither Tisha or Miss Wanda asked Keke what she actually said at Melody's party. Nobody asked Keke what she said because, in my opinion, what Keke said was pretty mild, right? It was pretty benign. I think Melody asked if Tisha had ever discussed infidelity as it pertains to Marsau before. And Keke said, yeah, she didn't offer any extra information, but what she may have done was vindicate Melody. And I talk about that more in part 2, which is posted on my other channel. She may have helped to vindicate Melody. And that is what the issue was about. It's not about the fact that Keke was invited to the party per se. It was the fact that Keke was asked an honest question that gave some insight into the dynamics of Marsau and Tisha's relationships that they've been hiding for several years now, while kikiing about Martell and Melody's relationship. I think Tisha may be more upset about her cover being blown when it comes to not knowing about Marsau cheating. Now, why would somebody pretend to not know that their man is cheating when their friend is calling them out on TV? What would be the purpose of doing that? Why would you pretend to not know that your man is cheating if there's evidence of him helping his friend to cheat on his wife? I'm going to share my thoughts about that some more in part 3, because I think this is the beginning of Melody being vindicated when it comes to accusations of her trying to destroy Tisha's marriage for no reason, with no evidence, which I never believed. There is a reason that Tisha wanted to believe that Melody was trying to destroy her relationship, even though Melody was holding on to a lot more information than I think she let on. I think Melody held back a lot when it comes to Tisha and the information she knows about Marsau. That's why Marsau was so friendly and chummy with her in previous seasons. He kept smiling at her, cheesing with her, almost trying to charm her into silence. But anyway, to recap this, it is interesting to see the dynamic between Keke and Miss Wanda, because it explains why Miss Wanda has an issue with just about everybody on the show. If you're going to raise your daughter to compete with your own niece, of course you're going to raise your daughter to compete with other women, right? But the thing is this, most women will not confront Melody to her face. What they'll do is they'll get close to her while they're being jealous of her, and they'll use her for her resources and her time and her energy, and then they'll stab her in the back while projecting their own jealousies onto her. So when Tisha said Melody's not a good friend, she was actually speaking for herself. For you to accuse me of not being a good friend after your husband helped to destroy my marriage, after I've helped you guys financially when it comes to business and networking as well, is laughable to me, and it's very hypocritical, and is the exact reason why Melody calls Tisha the ops. I sense something going on here, and I'm not going to talk about it at this point because I don't want to give anybody a heads up based on my intuition, but something very interesting is playing out at this point, and people need to stop playing with Melody. She's not a dummy. Neither is Tisha. And I think a very sophisticated game of chess is being played right now. In future episodes, we see Marsau get out of character for the first time in 4 seasons because of something that Keke knows and that Keke may disclose to a bunch of people. Now, whether or not Keke says anything doesn't really matter because Marsau's reaction says enough. Now, the drama that progresses throughout the season may be hyped up the way that Carlos likes to do it. It may be scenes cut and pasted together and to juice things up and make things seem a lot more interesting or intense than they actually are. So whatever. I'm not going to put too much into that, but what we have already, the information that we do know about Keke disclosing the fact that Tisha did discuss Marsau being unfaithful prior to Melody accusing him of doing that, should be enough to vindicate Melody. A lot of people were saying that Melody tried to destroy Tisha's marriage, which again, I don't believe to this day. But anyway, at the end of the day, I'm hoping that Miss Wanda, Tisha, and Keke can get close again. I'm hoping that Keke did not join the cast to out Tisha. That would not be a good look, regardless of whether or not she's telling the truth. That is a lot to do to get on TV. But again, stranger things have happened in Huntsville. We had damn near a whole cast of people go on stage and basically betray the person who put them on TV, who gave them a platform to grow their businesses. One more note. I'm so happy that Melody called out Kimmy for her hypocrisy. Melody, Kimmy, and what's her name? Stormy, they had a brunch together, I guess. And Kimmy did not want to invite Martell to one of her parties because he has a bunch of drama around him. I guess by drama, Kimmy means that Maurice was, hanging out with Martell and lying with him, lying for him, and lying about their trip to Atlanta. So like Melody said, I guess Martell isn't a good guy now that your relationship is being affected by his shenanigans. He was a good guy when he was dogging me out and he was charming and all this other stuff, right? Y'all all know the mistress, y'all hanging out with her and all this shit while he's abusing me psychologically and emotionally and financially in our relationship. But he's still a good guy until you get put on the spot. Now he's too messy. Y'all see? Nobody's understanding things from Melody's perspective until the shit happens to them. So Melody has been right about damn near everything the entire time. But the people on the cast were not directly affected by Martell's actions. So they were going to act like they didn't know what was going on, and Martell was a good guy. They were confused about why Melody would not want to be around him and why she would get a divorce. But that is partially Melody's fault, because Melody puts on a good front. She protected Martell so well that people did not understand the level of toxicity and abuse that she was enduring in their marriage, because she really put on a brave face for the public. She was still smiling, still looked good, still taking care of business and raising kids. So people did not understand the magnitude of the stress and pressure and abuse she was suffering at the hands of Martell. And now people know. So hopefully they'll start to understand why Melody moves the way that she does and not use that as an excuse to say she's a bad friend, even though there's evidence of her helping out everybody in her circle. Except, I don't know about Kimmy too much, but she put Kimmy on the show, so that's kind of helping her out too. She's putting extra money in her pocket. So yeah, she's helped out everybody in her circle, whether they needed it or not. I want to say one more thing, and I forgot to mention this a long time ago about Maurice. I said Maurice is very, very, very sneaky, because I remember in the first season, like episode 1 or 2, Maurice was acting so shocked and dumbfounded that Martell was cheating. Oh, you cheated for real? It was sexual for real? Then we find out 3 seasons later, they were all hanging out in Atlanta together with Marsau. Yeah, right. Anyway, that's it for now. I look forward to reading your comments. Part 2 is going to be posted on my other channel. The link to that commentary is in my description box. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll speak to you soon.